and gentlemen, the FlairBar.com show. Your host, Ben Rose, back, and I'm going to do it right off the bat. But I have Toby in the studios. Now, I say Toby because you're an old friend of ours, of FlairBar.com, back the old president of the FBA. I could ramble on and pat the back all day long. But I'm going to jump in right in here because...
Back rub would be nice, actually.
All right. So listen, we do it all for our guests here, right? A little lower?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, right there, because it was a long night. Now, I want to jump in real quick because I see your name all over the place now. You've moved up big time, but it's gone from Toby to Tobin. Why?
Actually, it went the other way. So
it did?
Yes, I'll tell you what's funny is I don't know, we were somewhere, and my family was there, and I think it was Ken Hall, and it was right after I started going by Tobin again, and he basically said something like, you know, who the fuck is Tobin? And my aunt or someone looked and said, who the fuck is Toby? Tobin's my birth name. I've always been Tobin. I went behind the bar at 18 years old, and I said, hi, and I still do it, hi, I'm Tobin, and half the people go, hi, oh, Toby. And they hear Toby, and they started calling me Toby. Well, Toby's easier behind the bar. So for 18 years, I was Toby. It was a lot easier. When I stopped being behind the wood full time, you know, Tobin's my name, and that's the name I like, so I started going by it. But I'll answer to either. It's cool. There's Ken and Kenny and Robert and Rob.
You know, we actually got a lot in common because when I worked behind the bar, I would introduce people, hi, I'm Ben, and they would just call me Dick.
Right.
So we've definitely got a lot in common.
Yeah,
but
well, you know, that name rings a bell. I think I've heard that before, yeah.
But back, you used to be heavily involved with Flair and everything. I know back in the day you were doing the Flair, the FBA president and stuff, doing the Flair. Now you're
Now,
do I say
Ben, how old are you?
18.
18, okay. Because you're using like what my grandparents do, and you're saying the Flair. Like we're gonna go to the Walmart and to the Target, and you're saying the Flair. So I'm just letting you know that's aging you. You're geriatric. Yeah, it's hot.
But now you're doing this whole mixology thing, right? And pairing. And describe it to me.
Well, I got to start by saying, as always, that it's never changed. I'm not now doing the mixology thing. Okay. I was working with fresh fruit and rye and orange flower water and making Sazeracs and everything else at 18 years old. It's always been, for me, it's about bartending. And I just think that if you want to call yourself a bartender, and you want to say that this is something that you want to be great at or you want to try to be great at, you need to open yourself up to all styles. And if you're not, you're limiting yourself. So it's bartending. It's not, to me, and this is not a popular opinion, so you'll love this, but in my world, there are no mixologists and there are no Flair bartenders. And if you remember, if you look at anything I ever signed when I was president of the FBA, every time, it never said president, it never said Flair bartender, it said bartender. I'm a bartender. I flip bottles, I make fresh cocktails, I work in nightclubs and bang shit out, nothing but asses and elbows, 10 deep, balls to the wall. I work in fine dining. I do 5-star mobile train service. It's bartending.
You know what? I love it. It's kind of like I threw the pitch up and you just took it. Because we talk about that all the time because there's the different spectrums, the chefs, this and that. And I love to actually sit down and talk to you who understands from all angles that it is one big thing. And it's all under one umbrella. And I love that people come in, they have all different things. And I'm glad that I was able to throw it up there and you... right out of the park.
My pleasure, man.
Now, we had the dinner tonight, Spirited Dinner.
Yeah, the Tales of the Cocktail Spirited Dinner at the Pelican Club.
Amazing. I got a personal chance to attend it, and I want to tell you, amazing drinks. What goes into that whole thinking process? Walk me through it. Because we got time, and I got 5 hours on this tape, so go ahead. So let's talk.
We spent 4.5 months on the dinner.
We can make up cocktails while we're talking, but go ahead.
We got right here. We got a gin and tonic.
Yeah, I've got
so
nothing.
What we basically do is we work with Chef Hughes over there, and he gives us a menu, and we go by what we have learned about. There it is, about pairing drinks, and you know, it's difficult because you're 2,000 miles away, Ben, and you're not really ever going to get to taste these drinks. But so we'll break it down and we'll look, for example, we'll take something like, let's say, the flank steak. So we've got an Argentine-style flank steak with a chimichurri sauce, shrimp and tasso stuffed mirliton. So we've got basically the savory vegetable stuffed with a spiced ham and some seafood. And then we're looking at a steak with chimichurri sauce, which has cilantro in it, which actually gives you sort of a citrus, it has acidity in it. So now, when we look at that, we try to break it down, and there's some things we've learned, and just by stumbling in the dark, but also working with other people about spirited dinners. Things like contrast is much more interesting than comparison or than similarity. So you know, if someone was going to make chocolate cake, you wouldn't make a chocolate martini. That'd be the obvious thing you'd think to do. That'd probably be the worst thing you could do. Yeah. You know, you don't have to be really advanced about it. Just think of the Reese's peanut butter cup. That's really what you need to do. Go, what do I love with this food? What would really pop the flavors? So that's what we did, and we did a ham and cheese caipirinha for that one.
I got to tell you, that was amazing. We got to talk to different people around the event, and people were talking about that, and I was amazed by it too. Just the flavoring on it, and you were telling us a story at the table and reflect on that, how the whole smoked ham thing came about.
Well, so one of the guys that works at Bar Magic is John Hogan. He's from DC, and he's just an absolute, truly, he's a virtuoso with flavors, and he's a great bartender. Anyone who's ever drank in DC or bartender there knows John Hogan. Really great guy. Everybody loves him. Very humble, and he's very talented, and he does some flair. He's pretty interesting to watch behind the bar. He'd be a great role model for some of the younger guys to see that instead of everybody talks, I'm going to sidebar for a second, everybody talks, bartenders, about how great they are and they make great cocktails and their flair is working and tight and their service is awesome, and that's really not what happens with most people. There's very few bartenders I've ever met who actually can execute that night in and night out at a level they say they do. There's very few. And John is one of those that can do it. He can keep the bottles and the glasses flying around, make kick-ass cocktails, smile, recognize people, take care of checks, tabs, shake hands, all that good stuff. So John is great with flavors. He's got a culinary background, not as a chef, but just from a lot of eating. And he's not fat, but he likes to eat a lot. And he is really on this smoke kick right now. Basically what we do is we take anything we can and we stick it on a Weber barbecue with some mesquite chips and build up the smoke in it. And then we actually smoke things like we smoke water to make smoked ice cubes. Another story. So what we did is we took some cachaça, cuca fresca, and we bought some maple ham.
You gotta slow it down a little bit because some of my viewers are, all they keep hearing is smoke, smoke, so they're slowing things down a little bit.
Okay.
Different joke. Never mind.
Yeah, no.
We'll explain that joke later. All right.
Your audience has changed a little bit.
Yeah, no, go ahead. So, smoking up with the Weber grill.
Awesome. So, anyway, yeah, what we did is bought some maple ham, and we threw it on the grill and smoked it with some New Orleans spices. Tasso is sort of a spice style from New Orleans, a different mix of spices, and did that lightly. And then we take that and we cure the tasso in the cachaça for about 2 days, just dump it in the cachaça. And what'll happen, it's a technique called fat washing, where basically when you cook meat and you end up with if it has any fat, when you actually put it in the refrigerator and chill it, the fat will actually all rise to the top and solidify, so you can remove the fat but keep the flavor, because the alcohol won't freeze in the I think I said the refrigerator, the freezer. Anyway, it's a light fat wash. We take the fat off, and you just get this slight ham, spicy, smoky flavor in there that adds just a little bit of depth, and then it's just fresh limes and sugar, and that's it. And we put a piece of cheese on top, so that we can call it the ham and cheese caipirinha.
You know, you say that's it, but I know all this work goes behind it, and it's just amazing how, like, pairing these things up and you just come up with cocktails. I find it amazing.
Well, the smoked Riviera bombed like a motherfucker tonight. We know that. So, and that's important too. And I'm always this guy, and will always be. We had some kick-ass pairings, amazing cocktails, and we had one that everyone absolutely hated. And don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. If you're not willing to take a chance, you're never going to learn anything or get to that next level. So really, we we spend a lot of time tasting these drinks and making sure they're right. We batch them out very scientifically, but at the end of the day, you never know if people are going to like them or not.
It's one of those trial and error things, I guess.
Yeah, so we had a bomb, and then I think we did pretty well.
Well, I got to tell you, everything from top to bottom with me was really good. I had to go with the ham and cheese.
Yeah?
I had to go with the ham and cheese. The crayfish, too.
The Bianco
Fresco. That pairing was really awesome, too.
With the crayfish and the white bean chili?
Yeah, cool. I was like, and like I said, I'm still all new into this, and people watching are new into this. And it's one of those things, we could sit here and describe this all day long. I could tell you how good this is back home, but until you actually go to these dinners and sit down and actually experience them, they're phenomenal. If you ever have a chance to make it out here, make sure you try that and check it out. I'm going to go backwards a little bit before we go any further.
Watch out, there's a green screen behind you.
It's really not a green screen. We could actually do anything we want. Like, we could put our hand right out here and touch your food pairings.
You can do that?
Sometimes. I'm not the guy that can do it.
Could you, like, right now,
let's talk about this.
Could you take, like, Ken Hall's head?
Yes.
And Rick Barcode's head.
Okay.
And take them and make them smooch and make smoochy noises and go...
You know what?
Oh, I love you. Oh, I love you, too. Can you do that?
You know what? Sit down. Put your hands down.
Okay.
With the magic, what we got to do is we both have to take our hands like this.
You know what? Actually, that's a picture in my head I don't really want.
No, I want to see it now.
A couple of hot girls. Don't let my fiance see this. Super hot girls, and let's have them kissing instead. You guys owe me one. All right. So where were we?
I've lost total control of the show, and now I'm never going to get Apple to sponsor me, but that's all right. No, I want to go back to, we touched on earlier, you were the president of the FBA. A lot of people watching our show and stuff, they're members of the FBA. But how did that whole concept come about? Flipped the coin one night, had a dream.
No, I'm just
came to you in a fortune cookie?
Okay, well, now who's stealing the show? What am I doing here? So, no, I'm just trying to think about how to capsulize it all, because it was a kind of a long process. Basically, I was that guy who thought I was the best bottle flipper in my city, in my town, because I was. No one was any better, and so I was like, oh, I'm the man. And I was doing the whole Fridays thing, and doing pretty well with that. And we were reopening a Friday in D.C., and I met a bartender that was coming in. Well, actually, when I opened the place, they were like, you know, you have to retrain. I'm like, man, I've been a bartender for like 8, 9, 10 years. I've been a Fridays bar trainer for 5 years. Do I really need to do this? They're like, yeah. I'm like, and in through the gates walks John Fiore. And there's probably a lot of people watching who have no idea who that is. But in my day, John Fiore was like, gotta be careful with this one. He was kind of like I'm trying to put it perfectly.
I'm not even going to jump in because I'm going to sit here and watch you struggle.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the right guy. Not really one of the Delpesh brothers. He was more like a, who's always right up there in the 2 and the 3 and the 4 spot? He was a Rodrigo Cow.
Like basically. A Rob Husted.
And he had exactly. He had his own style. He was great, and I was just blown away, and I got to meet him. So then, come the grand opening, I hear that this guy Alan Mays is coming up, and he was like already a legend in my mind. I had heard about him and seen him on the Fridays tapes. So he came up. We did a little like a show, sort of a staged competition. We both did a little round, and it was phenomenal. It was fun. I took him to the airport. And on the way, I was like, you know, what can I do to meet guys like you and hang out with guys like you? He goes, well, you need to go to this competition quest. And I said, well, how do I get to that? He goes, well, you know, all you got to do is do this and that. So we talked, and I said, isn't there some kind of organization or something I can join? Just because I want to like know where shit's going on, and I want to meet people, and I want the world to know that this is out there and that this is, because so many people don't know anything about it. So anyway, he said, that's a good idea. We started talking. I went down to Quest. I had talked with Ken Hall on the phone a few times. I took out a piece of paper and numbered it like 1 to 30. Ken Hall came up, or Alan Mays came up, signed his name and phone number and address on 1. Ken did it on 2, and everyone else fell in. We started up a list of about 30 people. I just started calling them up. I worked at an ad agency, and I like would sneak around at night and Xerox shit and mail it out at my own cost. And we just started with, wow, we're old. No internet. I mean, the internet was up, but nobody was using it. You know, 1 in 80 people had email, if that, and they were all like tech geeks. We just started talking, and it was pretty much just grassroots, and it was just, hey, and let's get the word out there. I had a buddy of mine at the ad agency design the logo, and yes, it was meant to resemble the NBA logo. What's up, Stern? You want to sue? Love to be sued by the NBA. And so I guess that makes me the Jerry West of Flair, because that actually the logo is a self-drawing I did on a mirror that I reduced down on paper to give to him to give an idea of what I wanted.
We're just getting the bottom of everything tonight, man.
Yeah, he rocked it out. Jim Allison and I started up. The FBA was first hosted on Bar Magic because we didn't have our own site, and then we split it off. Jim came on and really learned just unbelievable amounts of techniques on websites and things, and kind of that's really what got it going. I went over to Europe. I spent a few weeks over there and just talked to a lot of guys and told them to come on over. And I'll never forget the day at the Flair Park on Flamingo and Jones in Vegas, where after hearing years of, you know, Europeans don't like American style and Americans don't like the Europeans and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all I got to do is put these motherfuckers in the same room, put some bottles in their hands, and just sit down, and it'll be over with. And that's exactly what we did. And so we all went out to Flair Park, and I remember it was Francesco Leone from Italy, and there was drawing a blank, but there was a guy, Ben something, top guy from Australia was there, and a few other Europeans, and there was Ken and Boogie and Alan and a few others, and they just started flipping bottles, and Essie was there, and next thing you know, people come over and start working and competing, and all of a sudden there is no one style, there's this blended style. So, and then it just kind of took off, and Jim Allison decided to really turn the website into the core of it to really drive the whole thing, and boom. And then of course Ken was on the other side doing tons with competitions, and then you and Rick came on the scene and gave this editorial side to it, which made it fun and interactive but informative, and everyone just kind of jumped on and started doing their thing. And we always said, you know, stop trying to go after the same one slice of a small pie, make the pie bigger so everyone can have a slice. So basically, I spent 10 years baking a cake or making a pie. When it was big enough and enough people were feeding on it, I kind of just dropped away to start doing something else that I thought was equally important and a little also ahead of its time. Just a little flashback in this one long sentence, an endless run-on. When I first Bar Magic ranked Flair bars, Flair bartenders by country, it was a very unpopular thing to do, and it was also a very necessary thing to do, and that move right there fueled unbelievable amounts of interest in competitions, and bartenders who had retired suddenly came out of retirement. I've always sort of known what needed to happen to get things where they need to be, and I kind of knew that what needed to happen to make Flair grow where it needed to go. And so I did what I could with that as long as I could. And now I have that sort of another mission going on, and that's it.
Well, I want to say, obviously, because, you know, I got into...
Good luck editing that fucking thing.
Yeah. I want to say, you know, appreciate you having that vision back then. And from what it's become, where it started, I just like to hear that history. But I want to thank you very much for everything you've done for Flair bartending, for just bartending in general. Maybe not in a 45-minute sentence.
Sure.
But can you give any
like
advice?
30?
Yeah. Can you give any advice to any future bartenders? Maybe in a sentence or two.
No, there's not a chance.
A word?
A sentence or two. No, I can do it in probably a few paragraphs.
Go ahead. We got time.
Yeah. Focus on the bartending. It's called bartending. Tend to your bar. Plastic bottles, Flair bottles, which, again, just out there, and Dean will back this up. I helped name and brand the Flair bottle and helped him when he was finalizing design, got him one of his first big sales with TGI Fridays. Love the product. It has a place, and that place is not behind a bar. I'm sorry. Sorry, Dean. You can edit that out if you need to. Behind a bar, bartender should be bartending. The reason why Flair gets a bad name is because of that monkey shit that you do behind the bar that you think people think is cool. If you really want to learn what it's like to be a great Flair bartender, instead of watching the people that you think are great, go to your own bar where people flip bottles. Wear sunglasses and a hat, wear any kind of disguise, don't talk to people, stand back 5 rows and listen. And it will blow your mind, because what you're going to hear, you're not going to hear the 3 people up front screaming and telling you you're amazing and you're the best. You're going to hear the other 30 people going, Jesus fucking Christ, can I get my fucking drink? Yeah, that guy can throw some bottles around, but their drinks suck. Or, you know, I've been standing here for 20 minutes without a drink. I'm not knocking anyone. I'm telling you that's how it is. I've done that for years at my own bars and other bars. When I got into Flair, what made Flair big, it was the last touch you put on the drink, not the first. It is the end game of bartending. It is saying, I'm so good at all of this that I can also, and I enjoy doing a little bit of this while I'm doing all of this. You need to focus on the drinks, the guests, everything else. When you can master all of that, now you have the right, the privilege to start flipping things around. If you're at home or in your backyard flipping empty bottles all day, and you don't know how to make, you don't know the difference between a rye old fashioned and a bourbon old fashioned, or you don't even know what rye is, and you call yourself a great bartender, I don't know. Focus on bartending. Focus on taking care of people, making them happy, remembering their names, what they drink, learning the classics, making up your own drinks, being fast, being clean, you know, being fun, being responsible behind the bar, selling. You know, that's our job. We're salespeople. That's it. That's what it's the beginning and the end.
I got to jump in on that. It's, to me, also it's a whole hospitality thing. It's that customer service.
It's hot. It's giving that people that warm, fuzzy feeling, man. It's making everyone feel like a VIP. And you know, it's funny because one of the things that really has always bothered me about what I helped create with the FBA is I think I created a monster. The idea was to take the exhibition Flair that was hurting service behind the bar and take it out from behind the bar and put it in a competition setting where everyone would appreciate seeing juggling and 8-minute routines to make one drink, because it's awesome and I've always loved it in the right time and place. And instead, that happened, but there was this rubber band effect where all of a sudden now it was perfectly acceptable to go behind a bar and make a gin and tonic and take 6 minutes to do it. And the excuse I always hear, or the answer from a bartender is, well, that's what Meg does, that's what Flippy does, and that's what Ati does, and that's what Christian does. And I'm the first guy to say, you're not Meg, you're not Ati, you're not Flippy, you're not Christian. You may be someday. Those people can flip bottles for 3 and 4 and 5 minutes straight and not piss people off because they're so fucking good and they're so fast They're great bartenders. They have eyes that are always seeing everyone. And while you're watching them do all these tricks, you're not seeing that they just banged out 6 other drinks with no flair, like a nightclub bartender, so that they kept the service going. So really, it's like we did a great thing, but it's kind of gotten out of control where it's depressing to me to go to a bar. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a Flair bar, and I've walked in with to me, very important people, family, friends, brands, media, and stood there for 7, 8, 9 minutes with a bartender that I know flipping bottles and smiling at me going, isn't this great? And I'm trying to be polite, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Could we get some drinks? You know, the first thing you should do is put a napkin down, shake my hand, and ask me what I'm drinking. Be a bartender first. Be a Flair bartender afterwards.
There you have it from Tobin.
Sobering truth.
And I got to tell you, you know, don't forget, speak on what he just described. I'm going to give a plug here for Summer Flair 4 because we've definitely taken all that to make it a whole bartender thing. The speed rounds, all the mixology matters and stuff. But that's coming in September, Summer Flair 4. I want to thank you very much, though. Very much for being here.
I want to thank you.
No.
For the girls and the...
They're still kissing. I want you to know that whole little 3-paragraph thing, which was like 5 paragraphs, they've been kissing.
Oh, the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
More with the FlairBar.com show. Big thanks to Tobin. And we'll be back right after this.
Rock and roll, baby.
You mind doing a drop like, hey, this is Tobin Ellis with, what is it, still Bar Magic or what is it?
Yeah.
With Bar Magic, and thanks for watching the FlairBar.com show.
Hold that.
And just look into this camera.
Where do you want me to... Am I still sitting?
Yeah.
You can sit, stand.
Hola, mi nombre es El Gato Ellis, and tú es watching FlairBar.com, derecha de izquierda. Oh, you want it in English? Sorry. Sorry, it was my excellent Spanish. Hey, this is Tobin Ellis with Bar Magic Las Vegas, and you're watching FlairBar.com TV. Rock and roll, baby. Perfect.
Perfect, man.
Did you want to throw in anything there about the connection or the worlds of mixology and Flair?
I would love that. I didn't know if it was trying. Yeah.
No, I didn't. Yeah, that's why.
My company.
Hold on. If you're drinking, I'm drinking.